So this idea of SBESS separating from the Students Union has come up in the elections. First thing you need to know, SBESS as a faculty association is still a division and governed by our Students Union. Second, the Board of Directors has actually ruled this referendum question illegal both under our Constitution and our letters patent, which essentially means that it violates our bylaws, so it can't go to an election. Should it even have gone to an election, the university has categorically said that they do not support the separation of SBESS from the Students Union. Now, one of the arguments against this is that the university, for whatever reason, is unable to speak to it because they have a contract with the Students Union. This, in fact, is untrue. There's no such contract. What the university and the Students Union have is called an OPA, or an Operating Procedures Agreement. Really, all it states is who owes what services to whom and when. There's no contractual obligations in there that require either of them to edit their opinions. The question put forward by SBESS even requires that the university agree to recognize them as a separate organization, which they've said they won't. So even had the question been on the ballot and gotten a yes vote, it still wouldn't have mattered. So besides the fact that this isn't actually possible right now, and likely won't be within the next year, let's assume it was, and let's look at what would happen if this was actually possible. Look, all political differences aside and political power trip egos aside, this is a bad deal for students. Currently, business students pay the highest faculty association fee of any students in the university. And not only do SBE students pay the highest faculty association fee in the university, but they're also the only faculty association that charges individual membership fees for clubs. Believe it or not, this is actually illegal under Students Union policy, and it happens nowhere else in the school. In fact, on that note, if you're actually paying a cash fee to be a general member of a club right now, you can stop or file a complaint with the Students Union because that's technically not allowed. Here's the problem. The argument is that business students will be better served by SBESS being its own association and separate from the union. But the reality is that's not true. And I don't dispute that there are redundancies and administrative problems between the two organizations trying to work as one. But despite these administrative headaches, they're way better than what it's going to cost students for them to become their own organization. Currently, the Students Union charges SBESS 10% of its annual budget for administration. This means out of SBESS's $156,000 budget, the union takes just over $15,000. In return for that $15,000, the Students Union provides banking, financial services, liability insurance, administration, oversight, and risk mitigation. All of these things taken care of for just $15 grand. The reality is, for SBESS to become its own entity, it would have to incorporate, get a not-for-profit status, would have to do its own banking, would be required to have liability insurance, would require some sort of oversight, most likely full-time staff, risk mitigation, administration, and its own governance system, all of which is going to cost it way more than $15,000 a year. So the question then is, where does that more money come from for overhead? At the end of the day, the question they put forward has no fee increase in it. What does this mean? It means that in order to offset their greater administration charges, they're going to have to take away from the funding that directly goes to clubs and student engagement currently. That means we will negatively impact current clubs and student organizations just so they can have more money for administration, which means at the end of the day, we have less money for what we're actually doing to benefit students and more money that we're spending on overhead. And it's likely in years subsequent to this that they would have to increase their fees, which means that students are going to end up in the long term paying more money out of pocket to receive exactly the services they have now. The system we have isn't perfect, and there's definitely room for improvement, and there needs to be a lot more cooperation between the Students Union and SBESS. We need to find a way to reduce the administrative headaches and the redundancies, but separation at the end of the day is a lose-lose for students. It's going to cost them more for lower level of service quality than what they get right now. So in an ideal world, what we should be doing is trying to work together to sort these problems, not trying to cut it with an axe.